So I am a resident of Suffolk and I have lived in Suffolk for about 25 years. My husband has lived here his whole life and we now live in the house he grew up in. We have forests and waterways and just lots of open land that people coming from other cities aren't used to.
Suffolk is a family. And as large as we think we are, we're actually a mid-sized school division. Our climate and culture speaks to that. That once people are here, they know they're connected.
They know that I know their community. I understand what they're going through. I've been there. I'm not far removed.
I've been very blessed to work in Suffolk. I said, hey, this is what I want to do. They're like, go for it, Kelly. I'm like, yeah.
So as time has gone in my living in Suffolk, it has really boomed.
And everybody was moving out to Suffolk because that was cheap land. And so I've really seen that shift from this rural country area that I knew of. COVID really highlighted that we weren't ready for this technology shift, especially my high school's area goes all the way to the Carolina border. Those students out there were left with technological challenges that really impeded their growth.
We put them in the box because we needed them to be able to deliver during that COVID time period. But then we had to open the box and let them out. And they weren't really willing to go, and they had possibly forgotten what it was like to be outside of the box.
We knew we had to change due to society, to our children, but we had to start with who do we have in front of us. You know, the students need to plan and conduct. They need to explore. They need to do an analysis. But if they're not interested, they're just standards. So that's a barrier that we're trying to get rid of so that all kids feel a sense of community and belonging, because that's how engagement happens, because my voice matters.
Where are the humans in this? Students are not just going to be left out, they're going to be absolutely left behind. So this is due to automation, artificial intelligence, robotics, and other emerging technologies. Eventually, our school districts and their communities are going to feel pressure from parents, from the community, and industry to say, hey, send me some students who are ready to do this work that we have at our disposal. Right now, across the United States, we have about 695,000 jobs that we can't fill. This number is perpetual. Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware got about 67,000 jobs that your students can graduate into straight out of high school making a six-figure income. That's family-sustaining, life-changing wages. What we are finding is that what we're hiring for is not being translated into the classroom. Not just our students, but the way we prepare our teachers, it's got to be essential. And that's some of the work that we're doing together.
People post-COVID do not cope as well as they did beforehand. They just don't. Because this current crop of middle school students had their last 2 years of elementary school or their first year of middle school being affected by COVID, last year elementary, first year middle, there was a hindrance to their social development. I saw it in my own daughter. So there's an adjustment period. One of the things that's an existing perception that is not true is that Suffolk Public Schools is not a great school division. That's false. It's a damn lie. It's on its way to becoming the premier school division because we have everything that we need. We have the right people in the right seats on the bus. So why can't we make a big jump? This field, even though it's not new, we haven't done a good job as humans to keep up with it, right? To keep up with the way that we are actually teaching kids to be prepared for not only the jobs that aren't being filled now, but of course the jobs that don't exist, right? That whole cliche. If you make it so that it's not a supplement, if you make it so that it's not just one course, if you make it a normal part of their everyday life, just like reading, then it becomes second nature. So STEM learning, STEM professional learning should be instinctual.
So about 3 years ago, Dr. Gordon came to me and said, we're evolving. We're transitioning science into a STEM department. I had no idea what that meant. And he said, I'm giving you the autonomy to figure out what that looks like here in Suffolk. So my first conversation was in relation to the Career and Technical Education Department. They are STEM.
We keep saying we want to kind of close this pipeline, and the pipeline is changing, and there's these hundred thousands of jobs in cybersecurity, IT field, but we have to start putting in opportunities for students to gain that training so that they can hit the ground running. We're very big on industry certifications inside of the city of Suffolk for our students. So we make certain that they have opportunities to attain industry certification so that it makes it kind of like an equalizer when they do go out to acquire interviews on their first opportunities to join the workforce. But there's always this cliff that hangs off where students want to work, but job age requirements kind of hold us back. So the biggest challenge I see holding back the overall vision from my lens is acquiring business partners that want to put forth that effort in students that are so young. We have opportunities for them to do some job mentoring to get students exposed instead of waiting until they're 18 years old and then attempting to kind of grab them. Then in some form or fashions, it may be a little bit too late.
Students want the careers, but do not have the experiences. How can we just tell them that you want to be a computer science major, but you've never experienced what computer science is? We are hands-on learners. I can sit here and tell you all the great things that can happen, but it won't mean anything if you don't go out and try it yourself. This was also the impact of COVID itself. We saw this stuff, especially in math, 41% the first year that we came out. But look at the jump we made after we had a chance to get the kids back in. If math can jump 21%, why did science only jump 4%? And what we discovered is we didn't adjust our science instructional methodology. We were doing the exact same thing that we did pre-COVID. And the kids' needs had changed. What we did is we contracted 21st Century Ed to do 5 professional learning sessions. I choose one STEM lead from each one of my schools. These are the folks making some things, learning how to make instruction more hands-on for all levels, elementary, middle, and high. All of our kids, regardless of their ability level, regardless of their socioeconomic status, they all can do STEM. All they need is that teacher, that adult in their life to push them to do that.
That is our role in what we're doing here in Suffolk. So we're going to be looking at our scientific and engineering best practices and moving our kids so that they are doing science. That is what our new push is. Instead of hearing science, we want kids to do science because all of us are scientists.
What do you think is the difference or the similarities between design thinking and the engineering design process?
Design thinking forces them to be engineer more concrete things, working together in teams and things like that.
Versus engineering is more of a technical, like you are working through a prototype, you're testing it. Design thinking could be backwards, forwards, kind of out of order, whereas an engineering design is pretty linear.
They come up with a process. You're ending up with a product at the end, but shifting the thought to where the students are design thinkers now.
One thing that Suffolk Public Schools has adopted is the 5E learning model. Research says that's how kids learn best. So it starts with that engage phase. So we're engaging kids. I got to figure out what you like, your interest to bring you on in. And then the second E is explore. And so that's allowing them to have that time to explore personally. I'm giving everybody the same experience to dive into. I'm then assessing students to be able to see what are they coming to me with and where are some areas that I need to build upon. And then moving forward, it's into the explain phase, which allows kids to talk about. That's what we want. We want kid voice, student discourse. You talk about it. What are your findings? What's your results? It's okay to disagree. In the world, we need to learn how to appropriately disagree with people. I agree with you because, and what's your justification? We have to teach those skills. And the best place to do it is within our science standards through investigation. It is so much more than just teaching science. Kids are able to engage and explore and learn how to communicate and work with people. I don't know if I answered your question.
When you do a lab, all right, you're going to do this part, and you're going to be the recorder, and you're going to be the presenter, you know.
How do you utilize the NGSS to develop learning goals, learning activities, and assessment?
It is a starting point.
After that, we started writing lesson plans. We wanted to make sure that they were rigorous, they were culturally relevant, and they encapsulate all of the different departments while focusing, of course, on the science standards of learning.
It was awesome to collaborate with other teachers in the room to see how are they getting their students engaged.
it's been a transition from realizing that we don't know everything and there's not just that one way of doing things, and accepting that students bring a whole wealth of information that maybe we don't even have.
It's not step by steps, it's not an algorithm. It's having those hands-on experiences, and that's how students begin their math journey.
I'm not going to say it's easy. Like one of the first, I guess was not last year, but the year before, they have to, in the standards, we have to design a model to move an object. They had a little plastic animal from one place to another, design something to make it move without touching the animal. And of course, you're looking at it and thinking, how in the world are 6-year-olds going to design a model? They really got just simple materials, some tape and some popsicle sticks and some string. And initially, they're in groups like, I don't know what to do. And then you can hear them start to talk. And they all came up with something. Most of them had something simple. Or some of them did a ramp, or some of them did where it was being pulled, but they didn't touch the animal and the animal moved. And then some did something more, more complex. But once you do it, then you're like, oh, okay, we can do it. We can do another one. And as the year went, it gets easier and easier. So I think the science department really is working on starting this in kindergarten so that by the time they're in high school and you're doing something really complex, they've already learned to work in a group, to think about how are they going to solve this problem.
Say parade blizzard.
Parade blizzard.
And attach research.
Attach research.
Good. All right, guys. So we've been talking about plants and science, right? And today we're going to work on creating a model. What is the meaning of the word model? So really quick, letter A, turn to the right and talk to letter B. What is a model?
A model is a concept.
We work almost in every subject area. We work on communicating with each other. We're working on those, oral language skills all the time because some kids don't have that. Some have it, some don't, some are in between. But learning to talk to someone is a really important foundation skill. Bentley, what's a model?
A model can be something that looks real, so it actually isn't.
So it looks real, but it actually isn't, okay? Models are used to help people learn about our world. Your task is to create a plant model that could be used to teach elementary students about plant structures and function. So we've been learning about structures. A plant structure is a part, and their function is the job. I'm gonna give you 3 minutes to start sketching your idea. We're gonna have probably about 30 minutes to make the model.
Did you use a cup? And then you the jar. And then cut this piece out. And then pop it right here and then get this piece out. Oh, take! I'll do it. Here's some scissors. And I'll put it on. So you cut.
They really have sort of a sense of accomplishment. Some kids in any grade, they can really quick memorize something, or maybe from their own experiences, they already know this. And so it's boring. I can just write back out the parts of a plant. I already knew that. But the sense of accomplishment, and I've accomplished this task, I think builds their confidence. I think that makes a big difference.
These are going to be the roots, but then we tape this to the cup so it wouldn't fall. Yeah, that's the dirt. That's the dirt for the flower. Yeah, and then the straw goes down and it's taped, so it won't just come out or fold.
Are we all ready? Take your hands off your plant. So we're going to share, and we're going to answer some questions. We'll put it right up here. So when a friend is sharing, your mouth is what? Quiet. All right, now tell me, what's the first part of the plant?
The roots.
The roots. And what do they do, Carter?
They do nutrients.
Nutrients from the soil, right?
Yeah, and make them stand up.
And it helps them stand up. Now what's next?
Stem.
The stem. And what's the purpose of the stem?
It sucks up water.
It sucks up water. Oh, it takes the water to all the different parts, right?
And the leaf holds in the sunlight.
Okay, and Nathan, what's this last part? The flower, right? So the flower, what does the flower do?
Seed?
The seeds, it holds the seeds.
We're starting with something really simple. I mean, they just taped popsicle sticks together, and some of them taped string. That's very simple, but it builds up to higher level in high school, college, and beyond, working as a team to solve this problem.
So each of you have patients that you are examining. Each of you are going to look at that particular case study. You're going to identify the muscles. You're going to identify the actions of those muscles. You're also going to be identifying exercises that you can give your patient for the purpose of correcting whatever diagnosed condition they have. If I pointed to a particular bone, you'd be able to figure it out?
Yes.
You guys sure?
Yes.
I don't believe you. Let's go ahead and have this game. We're going to challenge each other. Who do you want to challenge? Morgan versus Sydney. There we go. Yeah. No. So, Morgan, you go on this side. Sydney, you're going to be over here. Yes, sir. No touching anything but the table. You buzz in. If you can answer it, you click answer. When you click answer, you have... Wrong.
Go for it.
You only got 10 seconds.
I thought that was the left side.
Confirmed.
Bro.
Wait, I asked you a question. You gotta pay attention.
We're gonna skip when I skip.
You're the group that gets to go first. Okay, so like I said, you're gonna list all the muscles and you're gonna list all the exercises, okay? And then, you good? All right, so break team, let's go. All right, your group.
We had the arm. Okay, so our patient has JIA, also known as juvenile
idiopathic arthritis.
He has really bad problems with his knees.
He also has problems in his wrists.
We can treat it so it's not too bad. We can treat it so he can still like play the sports that he wants to play and do all the other activities.
He doesn't have any breakdown of bone yet.
And that's what we're trying to prevent.
Our patient Jackson experienced a radial and ulnar fracture while playing basketball, and he had plates inserted. And the issue with plates is that once they're inserted, the muscle, you lose a lot of strength in it. So he will have the plates in for about 6 weeks, and then after that we have him on a physical therapy plan until his muscles can regain strength to match his other arm too.
So we have a wrist radial and ulnar deviation. Yeah, and then the flexor stretch will help with the moving and stuff like that. The wrist type of extension is the third one, and it's just doing this, which will help build up the strength that we use.
Right extensor pulsus longus, because that one mostly just connects for you.
Pro's 65 years old, and she has cervical stenosis.
You can't really fix it because the discs are smushed. You can't unmush them.
But she used to play with her grandkids and gardens and stuff, so we just want to get her back to that. And she already, she previously was getting treatment, but it wasn't working as well because they weren't really doing exercises or anything. They were just giving her massages, relaxing treatment, meditation and stuff to do like that. And so we're just gonna give her exercises and stuff,
You should show us one.
Be about 2 feet away from the wall. Your palms are flat on the wall, and go all the way. Bob, guys. Guys, I'm booking 14-year-old.
In the Rollins study, it was identified and revealed that 73% of engagement happens when students are in labs and hands-on. They're actually working in their learning. That's significant when only 54% is learned from lecture. We as educators must understand that students' engagement, them being hands-on, them being involved in their learning, manipulating things, actually working through scientific as well as other processes, hands-on engagement, that's where we capture them. That's where we keep them, and that's where they really learn to explore whatever the content area is.
The skill set that you have to have in order to work with my population of students is patience. I've been with Suffolk Public Schools for 13 years. I work at Turleton Woods, which is the alternative school for Suffolk. So students really kind of shy away from school, don't like it because of the negative things. They've been suspended. They've been put out the classroom. They don't want to come to school. They're missing time, they're missing days. So those things, when they come to us, what we try to do is try to capture their interest of learning, trying to capture their interest in science. How can I make this relevant? How can I make it real world so they would want to learn, so that I can drive that knowledge and that interest? If they don't feel interested in the class, they find a way to escape. And sometimes behavior is a way, okay, I know Miss Luter is gonna put me out if I do this, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it because I don't wanna be in here anyway. So that they kind of do, it's always a form of communication. Every behavior that they have, they're communicating to us their needs. And we have to take that in, we have to realize that, and we have to see, hey, what do the student need in order for them to be successful, increasing their academics, sparking their interest, and getting them involved. All right, let me first say good morning. Welcome back to Life Science on this terrific Tuesday. So we have a minute to win it game that we're about to do. You have to make something that each of you can use to stack your cups like this without your hands. All right, so you have to use the things in the bag as to build a tool to help you stack the cups. You have 5 minutes to do so. How am I going to build this tool where you can use your hand to move the tool?
Make
all right?
A circle like
y'all
this.
ready? All right.
What we do with these?
Y'all gotta have a
Pull it.
Yeah.
You grab that.
Wait a minute, you using your hand, bro? We had reset 2023. And my word was engagement. I wanted myself to be engaged, but I also wanted my students to be engaged as well. And as we collaborated, we came up with ideas and projects that we could do to make the students more hands-on, to get them more involved in the discussions, get them more involved in what is STEM. And they had to talk about them and work with other kids about them. I think they made them excited, ready to learn science.
So I made this, right?
This here too?
It looked like a tennis racket, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so you gotta do like this or something.
All right. All right, his hands did not touch it.
The cup don't fall on the thing. Open it up.
Good job. I can see it's good. In review, we talked about adaptations last class. We talked about structural and behavioral adaptation. Structural is just what they have on their body. How do you describe their physical self as far as how they're going to adapt and blend in and be in that environment and able to get food and reproduce. Behavior is what they do. Migration, hibernation, there's all types of behavioral adaptations that they have. All of those things are important. Now, list 3 examples of adaptations.
Like some animal in the desert adapted to the hot weather.
All right, so an animal in the desert, like a scorpion or something, it has to be able to survive those harsh temperatures. All right, and camouflage. All right, give me an organism that does camouflage, Jesse. All right, so he said the chameleon blends in. He's absolutely right. All right, so who's hungry? Okay, so this is what we get ready to do. We get ready to go outside. Outside, I have hid some eggs. You want to find the eggs, as many eggs as you can, because you have to bring them back to your habitat. You got to bring them back to your home, and you have to share it with the other organisms in your family. So you have to be able to get enough food. All right? Everybody ready? If you need to put on your coat, you can. Don't go in the grass until I tell you. The number one thing at Turleton, we want to increase student engagement, because if the student is engaged, they don't have time for those negative behaviors. We always want to increase and build on those positive behaviors. So if they're engaged, they're learning. They're in the learning process, and they're doing things that is contributing to their learning. And we want to always increase that. And it helped me to also look at, am I increasing? How am I using those 21st century skills? Am I building on just not using technology and using a PowerPoint, but am I using technology so that it builds my students' knowledge? That's the most important thing that we learned today, that I learned today.
First of all, we want to thank all of you all
for being here. Our overall goal was to not only find some different strategies to improve our science SOL scores, but to also tackle some of the economic and workforce development challenges that we're seeing.
And it worked.
From some of the things
I mean, it worked. You know, we had a 5% increase in our science student achievement scores overall. And the material, our curriculum guides, our, pacing guides, our curriculum maps, they were already there. But finding new ways to engage our kids so we're not just regurgitating all the time the exact same instructional methods, I think that was the key. And so I think what's really special about our partnership with 21st Century Ed and what we're doing in Suffolk Public Schools is, right, we're documenting the recipe in the book. This is what we did. If you want to have a concept that you can actually customize for your school division, not only to increase this science student achievement, but also to give kids more exploration into these careers for these jobs that aren't being filled. Look at what we did in Suffolk. And those are the things that we're going to continue to build upon.
Sir, absolutely. Let's get it. All right. Appreciate it, Mr. Foster. All right.
Our science scores drastically increased last year, and that was due to increasing the hands-on inquiry. But kids are so much more than data and numbers. Like seeing what they can do and how they interact within a classroom is amazing. So encouraging people to come in to see and invest our kids, I think that's the only way that we'll continue to have, a system in place that's working.
Okay, I feel like when I was younger in elementary school, they only asked the smart kids to be in STEM, not the kids who were bad and get bored in class, and they should have did that because STEM is more hands-on and it would have helped the kids that, got bored because they would have been doing experiments and stuff. So not just incorporating the smart kids, should have tried to show STEM to everyone back then. Yeah.
You ate that.